Welcome to First Alarm Family First. I'm Jen Herrera alongside Carolyn Acosta. And as always, we have a guest with us. And Carolyn, this is exciting because the past 8 or 9 months, you and I have heard a whole lot about FDIC and what happens there, and firefighters and fire departments and firefighters getting together nationally. And today we have an opportunity to kind of get a firsthand look at what's going on.
Yes, we're excited about that. Our guest today is Jesse Eberle. He is a former U.S. Marine, a retired fire captain, a paramedic who spent decades serving others, whether on the battlefields or responding to emergencies at home. But after years of witnessing trauma, loss, and heartbreak, Jesse found himself carrying more than just the weight of the job. Welcome, Jesse, today. Thank you for being here. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ladies, for having me. Jesse Ellerby grew up in the greater Phoenix area. Actually, Scottsdale was where I was born and raised. Second generation firefighter. My dad was back in the day, Scottsdale didn't have their own fire department. They contracted to rural metro like other communities. And so my dad worked for them. I like to say I was raised on a fire truck, and I grew up on a Marine Expeditionary Unit because military service is one of those things that truly matures you in a different way. And it's something I was extremely blessed to have. Had no interest in joining the military out of high school, but we lost 343 brothers in 9/11. So if you're going to step up to the dish and serve for that, the reason I joined the Marines is because they are the most dedicated, if you will, and give you the best chance to come home. Because if you're going to go to the worst place in the world, you should go with the best people. And so I joined the Marine Corps, did 4 years there successfully. I have no actual issues from my military service. My military service was great, but I was in a support role, so I was on the ground seeing combat. When I returned home, got my Fire 1 and 2, got hired by an agency, got my degrees, just did the career mark, wound up working for two different departments, did private ambulance, like interfacility transport, and I also did wildland firefighting as a contract paramedic. So I wound up kind of getting like those three rails of the modern fire service, especially in the Southwest, under my belt. I was a battalion safety officer during the pandemic. So when that hit, I was, in that operational leadership tier where we were figuring out how to get PPE for everybody and resources and whatnot. Career wound up, I had to retire for mental health reasons. At one point, I was 390 pounds. I had an enlarged heart. I was pre-diabetic, depression, suicidal ideation daily, and for about 7 years, actually. And I was blessed to know what ideation was versus intent, right? And knowing that was, I think, the thing that always saved my life. That, and I've never drank alcohol, which I think is and obviously, Carolyn, with what you've experienced, I know that alcohol. My engineer's son just took his own life back in November, and alcohol was involved, right? And running 911 calls when we go on suicides, alcohol is typically there. And I've always wondered if that is the thing that takes the brakes off of the difference between ideation and intent. But that's observational, right? We'd have to get true stats and whatnot to actually, codify and prove that. But I think that's truly what helped keep my mental health from that breaking point and just at that cracking point. Really blessed to have gone through all that. I believe that all of that was, to kind of educate me for this next phase of life. Like you guys said, I'm here at FDIC, working for a company called Karna Bunker Gear. They're a carcinogen-free training turnout ensemble. So instead of wearing our normal stuff that goes into a fire and has that exposure and we're constantly breathing it in, think like airsoft for military. It's kind of like that, where it's a suit that weighs the same, feels the same. Physiologically, we're going to engage that firefighter the same, but we're not going to have that chronic carcinogen exposure from the off-gassing of the turnouts. So we got a booth down here at FDIC, walking around seeing all the different the cancer initiatives, the mental health initiatives. Everybody is finally owning where we're at, and I think that is really that's a beautiful thing, and I think we need more of that. So
The carcinogens in the bunker gear, I don't want to dismiss that because, you said it real quickly. That's been a big
yeah.
issue for years. That's been a hot
Oh,
topic a long time. So I definitely want to touch on that a little bit more, but
okay.
I want to take you back, Jesse. I want to take you way back.
Hmm?
You mentioned that you are a second generation firefighter. There is something, and we talk about this often, about those generations, right? Like about the
Mhm.
older guys. Did your father ever vocalize any of the concerns, any of the issues that you've seen over the years when you were younger, or did he just not talk about it, or were they not affected the same, these old school guys?
It's so I always say this: the job is what killed my mental health. The work never did. The work is going out and trying to be the answer to someone's worst day if you have that opportunity, because the time and the opportunity is there, right? Like we work as hard as we can, and we have the outcomes we do based off of timing and rhythm. The calls discovered, reported, responding, on scene deployment, and actionability, right? So this whole we save people, it's like, we work as hard as we can to give them the best chance, right? That's how I've always been able to keep my mental health with it. It's not a personal thing. I'm not saving people. I'm a craftsman that actually goes out and does the hardest that I can, learns from every mistake I make, and gives people the best chance they can possibly have. It's not on me as like the because I honestly I call it the Michael Jordan problem. I think that we had this shift around the 90s where it became like this, like you have to be the best, you have to be the greatest, you have to be all those things. And that's that dominance hierarchy, right? And I think that back in the day, we had more of a harmony kind of concept where, yeah, there was still people that were and this comes to careerism in this modern era as well. And I think that back when my dad did it, everybody was real communal. There wasn't as much backbiting and as backstabbing for promotions, and because people see like these are limited resources for opportunity for what they've conceptualized for their own life and their own career. And I think that's where we've started attacking each other internally versus coming together and helping each other be the best that we can. And that would be the biggest to your question, the biggest difference between like my dad's generation and my generation. I was also lucky that my dad never sugarcoated anything. I grew up as a kid understanding that bad things happen to people, that people are going to turn to evil here and there, and that your work is to clean up the mess and not to like internalize all that darkness, right? And I think that was kind of the blessing in it.
Takes away
Actually,
the camaraderie. It takes away a lot of the camaraderie that
yes.
we had historically.
Yes, yes. It's no longer a family, right? Or it's a dysfunctional family now. Where before, I think it was much more, you're my brother, you're my sister, let me help you. And I might beat you on game day for that promotion, but I want you to be the best you can be for that day because I don't want to beat some of those a chump, right? Like, if I keep all the secrets to myself and I go and I show up on promotion day and I shine and everybody else sucks, that means the public isn't getting the best. So what am I really doing for my mission, right? And then and I'm proud to say this, the crew that I was on, two of us promoted to captain when we took our promotional test, and I studied with those guys the whole time. Right, there was three of us that were testing. Two of us wound up making it, but we studied together. I gave them everything I had as far as how I was preparing, so that they would be the best they could be when they were on a truck for the public. I don't care about you that on game day because I'm going to stomp you out. Right, like I'm like it's like I'll give you all the tools, but like I'm going to put a face on that you're not going to catch, and that's the jarhead in me, right? But it was just one of those
Nothing wrong
things.
with that. I think that's important. There's nothing wrong with
But at the same time, those other people that promoted, they gave great service, which I didn't swear an oath to my career. I swore an oath to the public. I swore an oath to this duty that we do. And that's really
Mhm.
where my heartbreak and that's what I like all my depression, everything. I went through the whole cycle of, acceptance and everything. And for men, we take our heartbreak and we turn it into rage because it's functional. Right. Like if I take the things that are disappointing me in society or people's interactions or whatnot, and I turn them into hostility and anger, I can put out a fire. I can cut a car apart. I can do all the things that are functional for me to be good at the job, but I don't have to deal with my emotions. And I think that
Mhm.
is something that we need to talk to like man to man. Like, hey, dude, like you were a little kid once, right? You can't muscle your way through any of that. And I think that's been that to your question. Like my dad's era, they all ate it and hid it. And I think we're kind of modeling that. So it's like they had more camaraderie, and I think that camaraderie allowed them to eat the trauma and you know silo it and repress it, but they still had their camaraderie. I really believe that our lack of trust in our leadership is the main driver in all of our mental health problems. Um, if you don't think your leaders are going to get you the best pension, if you don't think your leaders are going to take care of you if you get hurt, if you don't think your leaders are going to, take care of your family if you're gone, how can you feel safe to risk your life for the common good? And I
It's
think
true.
that that is the number one thing, and a lack of hope, right?
that. I think it's fair to say that a lot has changed, Carolyn.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
you've worn both uniforms. I mean, Marine and Fire. Do you think that shaped you to be so like resilient? Because you seem very strong.
There's an old saying that you can take the kid out of the core, but you cannot take the core out of the kid.
Hmm.
And they say, the change is forever. Once you trade on the honor of being a United States Marine, you are now beholden to that ethic. And when everything was falling apart in my life and my retirement and everything, I'm a pariah. Like there's only one dude that'll talk to me from my old agency because I spoke out against what the abuse that's going on. Um, but I had this other brotherhood that did not give a damn about the fire service. They cared
Mhm.
about the fact that I was fighting for what was right, and that the Marine Corps community, as far as like that fraternity, the fire service could learn a lot from the Marines. Because, Semper Fidelis means always faithful to the mission and each other, right? Mission accomplishment, troop welfare. That is that is the leadership model that we follow as Marines. The cornerstone of all Marine Corps leadership is know yourself and seek self improvement, right? So if you
Mhm.
have those things just beat into you, you've spent 4 years doing the nastiest stuff with the hardest people, and everything they told you works, right? The
Mhm.
proof's in that pudding. So I don't think it absolutely was something that has forged who I am. And I couldn't be more blessed because I had to get a surgery to get in. Like I had to lie on a bunch of stuff when they were like, "Have you ever had any of these medical problems?" I'm like, "Nope." So like I'm like 343 of our brothers were just killed. I'll say whatever I need to get into this fight, right? And that was just that's the kind of person I am. I have that tenacity, and I think the Marine Corps takes that tenacity and turns it into a leather through a person. And like I've had guys on the agency. I don't care that anybody served. It's bullshit. But and they would just disparage military service because they never served, right? So it
Mhm.
like winds up being a complete projection of their own insecurity. But
Sure.
that then becomes, well, there's another kid that didn't serve and he likes this guy, so he's gonna start saying it too, so he can fit in, right? And
Mhm.
but
And
that's just men and their egos.
you mentioned self improvement
Hmm.
as far as the Marine Corps. When we first
Yes, ma'am.
started talking, you said that when you were going through everything that you were going through, you lost, I believe, if my math was correct, 170 plus pounds, something
Yes,
along
ma'am.
those
Yeah,
lines. Take
yeah.
us,
I was over
as,
390. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we have talked a lot about, and it's so basic, okay?
Hmm.
Sleep, exercise, eating well, talking things out, super basic things. How did you come to that point and decide that not for aesthetic or any other reason but your health to lose
Hmm.
that weight, get in shape, to get yourself in a better place?
um I've been heavy my entire life. I was an offensive lineman in high school. When I was in the Marines, I was an ordnance technician, so I actually loaded the weapons onto the helicopters. So I actually had a T-shirt made that said, "I'm not very smart. I can lift heavy things." Um, but it was always one of those things where my size was an asset, right? So like I lifted heavy. I was a little bit chubbier, but I could always outwork people, and that became my focus along with like just looking at my kids and be like, I want to raise grandbabies, right? Like me and my wife want to raise grandkids and teach them all the things that my granddad taught me about how to hunt deer and be out in the woods and the values and all those things. And I'm not gonna be able to like I was a 37-year-old man with a large heart. I was going to die of heart disease like every other fireman, right? Aggressive. I'm going to F and win. But if you need to win by taking yourself off the truck for a while and rebuilding your life, then that's still victory because a long retirement is what we're supposed to be, is supposed to be the reward for this service. So
Mhm.
why would I continue to abuse my body and make it not of service to me when I worked as hard as I did for 20 years between military and fire service? Like, why would I do that to myself? It's so counterintuitive, but so many people just kind of accept the fact, oh, I'm old and broken, and da, da, da. And it's like my dad was one of those guys, and it didn't serve him, and it wasn't serving me, so I abandoned it. Like, if it's not serving you, you need to abandon it, and you need to find people that have either left it themselves. And I think that's unfortunately in the fire community right now, we have a plethora of fitness nerds that are out there. It's like some 27-year-old kid that's a CrossFit guy and he's never been hurt on a job. He's never had, adversity. And he's out there like, you lost the right to be out of shape when you took the oath. And you're like, wait until this job smacks you down. And
Right.
I can't wait till some other 24-year-old talks crap to you. And then you go, oh, now I get it. Right. Because like a lot of these dudes carrying this weight, it's like they've worn a building, they've been dropped off something. They had something go wrong or, whatever, and they're tore up. And instead of fully rehabbing and getting out of that, they accepted, oh, I'm just going to limp now, or oh, I'm just going to do this now. And again, I'm not into that. Also, I tell everybody yoga If you're not doing yoga, everything we do weight wise, we're pyramiding against gravity. Yoga allows us to expand, right? Like we're doing like a side angle bend, and you're actually getting elongation in all those muscles, and you're breaking them apart, and you're going to rebuild them, and you're going to build space in those things that have compressed, right? So you can have there's ways to alleviate this, a lot of these things we have going on. Obviously, if you have nerve damage, those kinds of things, there's other treatments, but this
Mhm.
thing is this thing's built to heal itself, right? There's no way we're not here without this thing healing itself. So you need to do the things that are going to inspire it to heal itself. And if you don't, then you're accepting, this other reality, and that's on you, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um, but there's guys like myself and folks like y'all that are trying to pass this word and trying to like give people hope. So it's
Mhm.
out there. You have to, take that pride, put it in the back pocket, and go, well, I'm going to fix this now. And I think um, that's where a lot of folks need to get to, in my opinion.
Yeah. Jesse, let me ask you. So you've said it was, I think, in one of your podcasts, war made sense. It was war,
Yep.
but what Americans are doing to one another, it's heartbreaking. Like, what did you
Yes.
mean by that?
So, to that point, like, you're going over to a country where radicalized people from all over the region have been facilitated to come in and fight democracy, fight a republic from being built. They're from a completely different world. They're from a completely different ideological background. They've had completely different experiences. A lot of them have had tragedy, hurt people, hurt people. So, when the United States Marine Corps shows up and they say, "Hey, we want to fight," and you pick up an AK-47, you want to whip it on, that's on you. Like,
Mhm.
and now I also wasn't, frontline. I wasn't part of, and I know from talking to a lot of veterans over the years in service and a lot of the veterans just in friendship, that a lot of them that are struggling were involved in some shady stuff, or they were involved in something where the leadership made them disposable and they didn't care about them. And that's where I think a lot of folks from that, I had great leadership. I had great deployment. We lost Marines. I lost my rackmate from boot camp, but again, it was war. I understood that. The
Mhm.
thing that gets me about being here in the land of the free and the home of the brave is you have unlimited opportunity to unscrew your life, right? To set yourself up for success. And instead of focusing on that, we have people focused on taking from one another for their own proliferation. And that's where the heartbreak is. Like if I'm here working for a company that
Mhm.
they're kind of like, dude, why are you like this? I'm like, harmony is actually the model. The dominance hierarchy is bullshit, but that's another conversation. Um, Ruining the opportunity, or not, or squandering the opportunity to live the best life that you can with all the sacrifices that have been given for this country to be here and for you to have that. If you're squandering that, I like that broke my heart, to your question. So, and
Mhm.
then how people are just crapping all over each other so that they can get ahead. And like, that is not what we're supposed to do. Harmony, like me helping you ascend, then you can reach down and help me ascend. Right. And when we get back to that, I think we are going to, like, and I think that that's what the pandemic has done for us. It's put us in this position where we're starting to rethink everything. And I
Mhm.
really hope that is the outcome of the troubles we've been through in the last few years. But yeah, that was yeah.
Point, Jesse. That's a great place to wrap it up because we are running out of
Oh,
time.
at the 30 minutes. Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, no, that's okay. But I think I think, the points that you hit on throughout camaraderie, how important it is, accountability, right? When it
Yes,
comes
ma'am.
to taking care of ourselves and not relying on anybody else to take care of us. And once again, a second generation firefighter, learning some things, learning some takeaways from his dad, and then acting accordingly and changing your outlook
Yep.
accordingly, which I think is hugely important and a good example. I know that somebody will take something away from this. Jesse, thank you so much for joining us.
Ladies, thank you
Yes.
for your time and for the work you're doing for the mission. We People like y'all are going to help this thing we're going to turn the bus, right? So keep
Yeah.
doing what you're doing, and thank y'all for having me on and let me share my story. And if I can help anybody, or anybody needs any advice, or just a cheerleader, hit me up. Go by Ann Arizonan on Instagram and other places, and I'd love to. If you're in a little bit of a struggle and you need someone to say, hey, you're going to be okay, I'll gladly do it, because you're going to be. You're just in a sucky place today, and it might take you 4 years to be out of that sucky place, but you're going to leave that if you set your mind to it. And I think that is, so anybody needs help with that, like, let me know. So I'd love to help them.
Thank you, Jesse.
All right,
Appreciate it.
ladies. Thank you all for your time and for the opportunity.
Take care. Bye bye.